congratulations to Bryan Battle.
Yeah, he's some serious Kelvin Gastelum vibes for sure. A guy that nobody really believes in, but then has proved himself the hard way. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, The Ultimate Fighter, Season 29, Team Ortega, Team Volkanovski, came to a conclusion last night, right before the great main event, Giga and Edson. And we had two awesome fights, really. We have Ricky Turcios, who is a product of Gracie Barra, Texas out here, got his black belt last night.
So cool.
Alex Morano put it on him. Alex is a professor under our Professor Draculino, so it's super tight-knit. So personally, I'm extremely happy to see Ricky get this victory and win the Ultimate Fighter, and I thought his jiu-jitsu was fantastic last night. And then you have Bryan Battle, who was literally the last picked person on Team Volkanovski, win the whole thing. And he said from the beginning, look, you can pick me last, whatever you want to do. I'm winning this tournament, and it's only a matter of time before I prove that what I say is true. And I was impressed tremendously by both guys.
Yeah, very, very impressive. And the Ultimate Fighter is always a great place to go when you want to look for people that are going to be something in this sport. And generally, you'll have a couple of guys that emerge, but the champions always seem to be some of those guys that really take off. And to see just the great exchanges and the fights that they put on for us, it's a great indicator of where they're going to go with their UFC careers. I really think both of these guys will be exciting fighters to watch in the future, especially Ricky Turcios. That was really awesome. Houston MMA has been representing really well as of late. A lot of up-and-comers are getting signed to the UFC. They're winning fights in the UFC. If they've been there for a couple, they're doing really well. So it's really nice to see another guy, especially a Gracie Barra guy. So Houston MMA, Houston BJJ is kind of cooking on all cylinders right now, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also shout out on that note, shout out to Mana Martinez for pulling it together and getting a great win in honor of his late coach and Houston MMA legend, Saul Solis. So congratulations to him. But yeah, Ricky Turcios he put on a beautiful display of what we do every day and what we train here at Gracie Barra, Texas, which is good, active guard, threatening submissions. We're taught to roll and train for the sub. And he was, even though he didn't get the submission, when he was in the guard and he was taken down a couple of times and ended up on his back, but he was shooting up triangles, trying to sweep with the omoplata, creating scrambles and getting up, threatening arm bars. And then when he was on his feet, he just bit down in his mouthpiece, came forward. His striking is not the most crisp or technical that you've ever seen, but my God, does he have a gas tank? Does he weaponize pace? I was impressed from start to finish with his performance, and that post-fight speech was just fantastic.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that has the potential to gain a lot of fans. He's just a sincere person. When you watch him compete and then when you watch him speak, you just feel like this is exactly who he is when the cameras aren't on him. You can feel that kind of energy that he kind of puts out into the world. I really like it. I feel like he's somebody that we're going to have to watch for. I think he's going to build and grow a lot as a fighter over the next few months and years, but he's going to be a problem. And while he is a little bit better on the ground in the grappling realm than he is on the stand-up, he's going to keep improving. He's one of those guys that's just dedicated to the craft, dedicated to the sport, and with the right team, I think he's going to keep excelling in this sport. He's probably going to have some really fun fights ahead of him, probably some difficult fights, but I think he's up for the challenge. And after last night, I was just so impressed. When you got these young guys and it's really their first time under the major lights. You know, they were lucky enough to get on a show and there was a lot of viewers and stuff like that. But when you're actually on a main card and you hear Bruce Buffer calling your name and this is a real thing. This thing's going on your record, right? It's just a little bit different, and he definitely rose to the occasion.
Absolutely, and 135 is going to have some interesting matchups now that Ricky Turcios is in the mix.
Absolutely.
So moving to the middleweights now, 185, Bryan Battle defeated Gilbert Urbina. Yeah. Urbina is I think he's the second or third brother to compete, third brother to compete in the Ultimate Fighter, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
He was not supposed to fight in the championship fight. It was supposed to be Tresean Gore. Gore, I believe, tore his knee. I think it was his meniscus that he tore. So unfortunately, Gore wasn't able to compete in the final. Bryan Battle and Gilbert went to war nonetheless. Gilbert realized because it was a short notice fight that maybe he wasn't conditioned for a full 3 rounds. In the first round, he really came out guns a-blazing, and he looked good. He was landing some shots, or even some times where you thought, okay, he might take over this fight and potentially get a finish. But Bryan Battle weathered the storm, did a beautiful job of countering, and then, showed us some of that slick jiu-jitsu with a rear naked choke finish. And I think Bryan Battle, while nobody really believed in him, including some of the TUF coaches in the beginning, he made a believer out of everybody with the winning of the Ultimate Fighter last night.
Yeah, that was very, very impressive. And he was so, cool. He was cool on the mic. I really enjoyed him. I think he's going to be a fun fighter for us to watch. He's going to grow into his body. I think, we might see him, really transform his body over the next few years or months. He's going to keep getting better. And that first storm that Urbina brought to him seemed like a pretty difficult one to get through, but he did deal with the adversity. He, managed himself, stayed safe. There was some crazy ground and pound exchanges, and he stayed tough. So it was really impressive to see him deal with that. Anytime you watch a fighter who's, going the hard way, which the Ultimate Fighter is the hardest. They always say it's the most difficult competition in all of sport, right?
Yeah.
And it's so true. And just like what you said, Urbina wasn't supposed to be the guy in the main event, but this just speaks to how difficult the Ultimate Fighter is. You're going for 19 or 20 episodes. If you're not in a fight camp, you're training somebody for a fight camp, and you're kind of living like you're in a fight camp for the entire duration of the season. And then if you are lucky enough to win all of your fights and you've done all the preparation, you haven't been injured, then you've got a big fight camp that you have to deal with for the main event, for the finale. The finale. And, injuries happen all the time in this sport, not just in the octagon, but in the training rooms. And to have a fresh body, you could win all your fights in the Ultimate Fighter and then not get your shot at the finale. So that's really part of the reason why it's the most difficult competition in all of sport. And that's why it was really cool to see Battle go from the last pick all the way to the winner of the finale. And like I said, he went the hard way right through a very tough fighter. And I think Urbina will likely get some more fights in the UFC because of the performance he had. He showed up on 2 weeks' notice, did a very good job, won the first round handedly, and then he ended up losing, but he knew that he had to go just as hard as he did in the first few rounds because it was a short notice fight, because he wasn't conditioned for a finale, a 3-round big major fight like that. So I think he came in with the right game plan. Battle came in with the right game plan. It was a long game instead of a short game that ended up paying off, and congratulations to Bryan Battle.
Yeah, he's some serious Kelvin Gastelum vibes for sure. A guy that nobody really believes in, but then has proved himself the hard way. That's and right. I think this season of The Ultimate Fighter will produce multiple successful UFC careers. I don't think it's going to be relegated to just the champion. I'm excited to see Tresean Gore come back. I think all 4 fighters that competed in the finales last night should be granted UFC contracts. I think they're all of that caliber. One thing that Bryan Battle said that was really cool was he got the finish by a rear naked choke last night, and I made mention of the fact to you early on when I was watching the early episodes that Henner Gracie is in Brian Ortega's corner and Craig Jones is in Alexander Volkanovski's corner. You can't get better submission jiu-jitsu coaches than those 2 guys. And he said that the rear naked choke, it was kind of not directly under the chin of Gilbert, but it was kind of on the chin. And Craig Jones showed him an adjustment to still finish the choke. It's more of a slower finish on the choke with the chin still kind of tucked under. He made that adjustment, and he literally partially won the Ultimate Fighter because of an adjustment that Craig Jones, one of the coaches, taught him in the season, which I think is really cool because that's what the Ultimate Fighter is all about, right? These coaches help you along your journey, and literally Craig helped him to a submission victory. So I thought that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, for that to happen in the finale, and he gives credit to the coach that showed it to him. That's really, really cool stuff. The one thing that let me down about the Ultimate Fighter this season is the fact that the two coaches weren't there for the finale.
I know, right?
You know, I feel like even if they aren't going to coach, and obviously some of the fighters were on the same teams, right? So it didn't make sense for them to coach them, but they should have been there, you know, while the awards were getting handed out, and then maybe they should have squared off, make a moment, make a little promotional side for their fight that's coming up. You know, I just feel like they should have been there, and maybe all of them should have been there. Craig Jones and Henry, all those guys. In there. I feel like it would have brought the season to a better close than just having these guys that were in the show the whole time, but then their coaches weren't there. It was like, it's kind of like The Office when Michael Scott, you know, spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen The Office, I mean, come on.
Turn it off
but,
now.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you've had your chance. But when Michael Scott's not there for the last 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
I get it, but also like I wish he was there. So I wish.
But he had to come back for the last episode, otherwise it wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So you should have had the coaches, especially since the main event last night was a 145 matchup, and Giga Chikadze is now a serious title contender.
Great point.
Why not have the two guys that are fighting for the belt at 145? By the way, just one more thing before we wrap. Great job on Giga's part saying he'd like to be the backup fighter between Ortega and Volkanovski. I think that's an underrated move, and not a lot of guys are doing it, but I think that he will likely get that opportunity. He'll get paid. He'll be there, and if something happens, boom, he's got his title shot.
Yeah, and if nobody's asking for the job and there's an opening for it, and you're the only person that's saying that you're willing to do it, then guess what? You get that job. Because if nobody else's resume is on the table for the boss to look at, then yours is the only one, and it's the most important, and then you end up getting that. And if you're the replacement fighter, then you're the number one contender as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. At least for the time being. Yeah. And so I think Giga will probably get that. And in these crazy times where people, you know, injuries, like I said, happen all the time in this sport, and people have to postpone fights. And with, you know, COVID-19 always kind of showing up in the most inopportune times, that could be, you know, hopefully it doesn't happen anytime soon for the fighters, and especially the champions. But I don't know, Giga could wind himself right into a title fight.
That's for sure. And but last night really belonged to Ricky Turcios, Bryan Battle. Congratulations to those guys. Congratulations, congrats. Gracie Baja, Texas. Nick and I, we're biased. We always love to see somebody from this neck of the woods that trains under the same professors we train in win something like this. So congratulations to Ricky Turcios. And guys, if you've enjoyed this video, a like, comment, and subscribe is always appreciated. And if you listen to audio podcasts, check the Barnhill Brothers out there in audio form. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Peace.